circumstances, you were going to be blaming someone for a behavior they had no control over, or you're going to be praising someone or rewarding them. But the question becomes, oh yeah, if you think there's no free will at all, how come you can't predict which child who is raised in poverty is going to become a criminal when they're an adult? How come you can't predict which person with the elevated testosterone levels is going to say something nasty to someone versus they're going to pull out a knife? Can you predict that? And I now spend a lot of my time in courtrooms teaching juries about the brain during murder trials, trying to convince them that this person, with the way their brain works, if that was your brain, you would have done the same exact thing. And the prosecutor, who then always gets to question me very hostilely for hours, what they always say is, okay, so science is teaching us there's much less free will, there's much less free will. That's great. Can you take somebody and look at their brain if they've had damage to their frontal cortex and say, this is someone who is going to be outside the controls of society? When they're at a funeral, they're going to laugh loudly at some point. Oh my God, what's wrong with them? Versus this person with the same amount of brain damage is going to be outside the laws of society. They're going to murder 8 people. Can science tell us these days which person is which? And I always have to give the same answer, absolutely not. We're not there yet. All we're good at now is if you have damage to this part of the brain, at some point, you're going to do something that shows that you are socially unconstrained by a lot of the standard rules of behavior. Is it going to be laughing loudly at a funeral, or is it going to be being a murderer? Okay, we've learned a little bit more. If you were raised in a stable, loving, middle-class home, you're less likely to be the murderer. You're more likely to be the one who'll just laugh loudly in the wrong circumstance. Whoa, that's where the science has gotten us at this point. So you say, okay, don't tell me about there's no free will. We can't like any of that stuff yet. But the point that I always wind up making is, yeah, that's true. But look at what we know about the biology of behavior at this point, and 99% of it we've learned in the last century. 50% of it we've learned in the last 10 years. 25% of it we've learned in the last year. So either you've got to sit there and say, that's it, tonight at midnight, there's no more science. We've learned all the science we can ever learn. Can you predict who's going to be a murderer? And the answer is no. We could predict who's going to be socially inappropriate, but that's about as far as the science has taken us. But you have to be crazy to think that the science is not going to continue to rise at the same exact fast pace.